Hello, everybody. Welcome to Romeo and Juliet, Act 1, Scene 4. I am here with my wonderful actors who are going to do this reading for you. Please watch it through once, see what you can understand through the language that is used and through their emotions and their expressions, and then watch it through a second time following along with the text to give you deeper understanding. Also, at the end, we're going to have a conversation like we usually do, which will give you more insights and more things to talk about. Okay, so here we go. Act 1, Scene 4, a street. Enter Romeo, Mercutio, Benvolio with 5 or 6 maskers, torchbearers, and others.
What, shall this speech be spoke for her excuse, or shall we go on without apology?
This date is out of such proximity. We'll have no Cupid hoodwinked with a scarf bearing a Tartare's painted bow of lath, scaring the ladies like a crow keeper, nor no without book prologue faintly spoke after the prompter for our entrance. But let them measure us by what they will. We'll measure them a measure, and be gone.
Give me a torch. I'm not for this ambling. Being but heavy, I will bear the light.
Nay, gentle Romeo, we must have you dance.
Not I, believe me. You have dancing shoes with nimble soul. I, soul of lead. So staked to the ground, I cannot move.
You are a lover. Borrow Cupid's wings and soar with them above a common bound.
I am too sore and pierced with his shaft to soar with his light feathers, and so bound I cannot bound a pitch above dull woe. Under love's heavy burden do I sink.
And to sink in it should you burden love, too great oppression for a tender thing.
Is love a tender thing? It is too rough, too rude, too boisterous, and it pricks like thorn.
If love be rough with you, be rough with love. Prick love for pricking, and you beat love down. Give me a case to put my visage in, a visor for a visor. What care I what curious eye doth quote deformities? Here are the beetle brows shall blush for me.
Come, knock and enter, and no sooner in, but every man betake him to his legs.
A torch for me! Let wantons light of heart tickle the senseless rushes with their heels, for I am proverbed with a grandsire phrase. I'll be candle holder, and look on. The game was never so fair, and I am done.
Tut, done's the mouse, the constable's own word. If thou art done, we'll draw thee from the mire of this sir reverence love wherein thou stickest up to the ears. Come, we burn daylight, ho!
Nay, that is not so.
I mean, sir, in delay. We waste our lights in vain like lamps by day. Take our good meaning, for our judgment sits 5 times in that air once in our 5 wits.
And we mean well in going to this mask, but 'tis not wit to go.
Why, may one ask?
I dreamt a dream tonight.
And so did I.
Well, what was yours?
That dreamers often lie.
In bed, asleep, while they do dream things true.
Oh, then I see Queen Mab hath been with you. She is the fairy's midwife, and she comes in shape no bigger than an agate stone on the forefinger of an alderman, drawn with a team of little atomies athwart men's noses as they lie asleep. Her wagon spokes made of long spiders' legs, the cover of the wings of grasshoppers, the traces of the smallest spider's web, the collars of the moonshine's watery beams, her whip of cricket's bone, the lash of film, her wagoner, a small gray-coated gnat, not so big as a round little worm pricked from the lazy finger of a maid. Her chariot is an empty hazelnut made by the joiner squirrel or old grub, time out of mind, the fairies' coachmakers. And in this state, she gallops, night by night, through lovers' brains, and then they dream of love. Or a courtier's knees that dream on courtesies straight, or a lawyer's fingers who straight dream on fees, or a lady's lips who straight on kisses dream, which oft the angry Mab with blisters plagues, because their breaths with sweetmeats tainted are. Sometimes she gallops o'er Courtesie's nose, and then dreams he of smelling out of suit. And sometimes comes she with a tithe-pick's tail, tickling a parson's nose as he lies asleep. Then dreams he of another benefice. Sometime she drieth over a soldier's neck, and then dreams he of cutting foreign throats, of breeches, ambuscados, Spanish blades, of hells 5 fathoms deep, and anon drums in his ears, at which he starts and wakes, and being thus frighted swears a prayer or two, and sleeps again. This is the very Mab that plats the manes of horses in the night, and bakes the elf-locks in flow sluttish hairs, which once untangles, much misfortune bodes. This is the hag, when maids lie on their backs, that presses them, and learns them first to bear, making them women of great carriage. This is she!
Peace, peace, Mercutio! Peace! Thou talkest of nothing.
True. I talk of dreams, which are the children of an idle brain, begot of nothing but vain fantasy, which is as thin of substance as the air and more inconstant than the wind, who woos even now the frozen bosom of the north, and being angered puffs away from thence, turning his face to the dew-dropping south.
This wind you talk of blows us from ourselves. Supper is done, and we shall come too late.
I fear too early, for my mind misgives some consequence yet hanging in the stars. Shall Billy begin his fearful date with this night's revels, and expire the term of a despised life, closed in my breast by some vile forfeit of untimely death? But he that hath the steerage of my course, direct my sail. On, lusty gentlemen.
Strike, drum.
And exit. Hooray! All right, guys, well done. So, first of all, let's talk about the setting. Where are they? What's going on? Where does the scene take place?
It's on the street.
We're-
They're on the way to the party.
Okay, yeah, they're on the way to the party. So let's talk about Mercutio and Romeo. So what's their relationship like? What's going on between that early conversation with them?
Well, they're buddies. They're buddies. And, Mercutio's a party boy. I mean, I'm pretty sure he has an invitation. So, and so he's like, come on, and great, he scored an invitation. Let's go to this party. It's going to be a great time. We're going to have fun. We're going to go wild. It's going to be awesome. And then here comes, sad sack Romeo to ruin everything.
Good. And Romeo is still thinking about Rosalind, I'm sure. Mercutio, what's your big speech about? You talk about Queen Mab. Who is she? What's all that about?
Well, I think it's really just, it's this metaphor that love is this fantastical thing, right? That we all have fantasies about, and we all have. The beginning of the speech is all about. It's literally like a description of a fairy tale, right? Like she's this fairy's midwife, and her coach is made of all this natural stuff, and it's wonderful, just like we all think love is wonderful, right? Then you get into love, and yeah, it's great at first, right? That middle part's like, yeah, it's great. You get this, you get that, and then suddenly, of course, most of the time anyway, for most of us, it deteriorates, or at the very least, it's not that fairy tale anymore. And at worst, it's awful. It's a nightmare. It's the worst you can go through. So that's what I think the speech is about. It's about the highs and the lows of love. And for Mercutio, who I think, mercurial, very easy, his mood goes all over the place. When he really thinks about all this, it gets to him. It gets to him, makes him sad, makes him, and that's why I think, if Mercutio is getting this sad, really sad and messed up about love, maybe Romeo, starts to feel some shame about his sad sack mopey self.
Yeah, I agree. I think too that there's a little foreshadowing going on here in the kind of mystical way. Romeo, you want to talk about that a little bit?
I'm so sorry. Can you repeat that? It cut out.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Just just the last
Oh
part.
There's a little foreshadowing I think going on here.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts about that? Like,
Oh,
what do you think?
absolutely. I think both dreams have their own little bits of foreshadowing. I mean, Mercutio talks about the, you know, the highs and the lows of love and just the idea that love isn't always perfect, you know, and that it isn't always that lovely fantasy. And that in the end, you know, it drives, well, it's spoiler, but
Well,
in the
no,
end of the it,
we did the prologue. We know what happened. Like,
yeah,
tell you
yeah,
this prologue tells you they're going to be dead. We know.
yeah.
Don't spoil it anything. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, it just goes to show that love doesn't always have a happy ending, you know, and that's that his dream is a little more removed and a little more metaphorical. I feel like Romeo's dream is definitely like he saw himself die or something. I'm not sure what Romeo's dream was. I mean, as an actor, I have like ideas about it, but you know, obviously like he might have had like a prophecy of some sort, like he saw himself die. And it's I don't know, I think the fact that they're both in that scene, it's like we can put the pieces together that Romeo is going to die at the hands of love.
Yeah, and I think the motif of fate and destiny starts to get touched upon here too, with the idea of this dream and
Mhm.
this prophecy, something that's gonna happen. Um, and then Benvolio's like, can we move it along, guys? Because I'm hungry. Dinner. You're gonna miss the whole party. Let's let's get out of here. Let's go. All right, guys.
May I also
Well
say
done
too,
again. Yeah, go ahead.
that I think that the Queen Mab speech also sort of sets Romeo. It almost helps set Romeo up for like the super ridiculous quick falling in love with Juliet too, right? Like this whole like I mean, if you think about it, I mean, just narratively, perhaps Shakespeare's also like, you know, Romeo cannot be going to this party all sad and depressed and then fall for Juliet. Something has to happen to get him into like at least the frame of mind of looking at somebody else and seeing the other possibilities. And this whole thing also about, you know, the fancy of love and youth and, you know, getting carried away. I think this scene has that, it sort of brings that energy into it too, so that later on, and it makes a lot of sense that he's sort of in this place. I mean, in the movie, who directed it? Is it Baz Luhrmann who directed that one, or
the Leonardo DiCaprio
in the movie,
one?
right? Mercutio is like they're tripping during this scene, right? So I think it's, I mean, I don't know if it's that much, but I do feel that there is this thing of let's set up this sort of ecstasy, this sort of not necessarily straight point of view, not necessarily flat aura about them, so that then fancies can take them. They can suddenly fall in love like this. Like it is, you know, it's a fairy tale. It is that romantic. You know, I think this scene sets that up.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. That there, you're right. There needs to be a shift because he's been moping around in the dark, crying, wah wah wah, Rosaline, wah wah wah. I love her. She didn't love me, but that the meeting is not going to happen with him in that state. Like there needs to be a shift. There needs to be a change, and then in comes Mercutio talking about the dreams, and then there's all of a sudden they're in party mode. Like you bring him up that way.
Right, because the scene isn't, I mean, plot-wise, the scene is not necessary. This scene really isn't necessary. There's nothing happens here that, like, will change. If this scene was cut, everything could still happen the way it happened, right? We don't get any new information, nothing. So I do feel that, you know, that this is sort of what this, one of the purposes of the scene, to get us ready for what's about to happen. I mean, yes, it introduces Mercutio, but, you know, still, I think there's more to it than that.
I agree. No, I hadn't looked at it that way, but that makes perfect sense. Perfect sense. All right, guys. Well done. See you in the next video.